Welcome to Magic Hour. I am your host, Paul Chappell. And guys, I've been doing this a long time. And let me tell you, science fiction is my favorite genre, has always been since I was a kid. And now I separate Marvel from that when I say this, but science fiction movies have been really disappointing. Star Wars, the last trilogy was terrible. I've seen so many horrible science fiction movies, and I finally saw a good one today. Yes, I'm going to go ahead and say it. Dune Part 1 was pretty damn entertaining. Now, I say that with some reservations, the first of which is the fact that I have not read the book. So maybe this film did a disservice. They have tried to make this film so many times. We're starting with David Lynch in, I think, 1984. And then they did a mini-series on the Sci-Fi Network in 2000. I didn't see that one, but I did see the David Lynch version, which I did not like when I was a kid. I remember my father rented it on Laserdisc. He used to do that back in the day. I thought it was really weird and just creepy. That was the operant word for that movie. It was super creepy. There's a little bit of creepiness in this version, but not nearly as much. And I never saw the sci-fi series, miniseries Dune, so I don't know anything about that. But this movie was definitely a step up from the David Lynch version. I liked a lot about it. Now, I did have some problems, but there were more aesthetic choices by Denis. I've been practicing this guy's name. Director Denis Villeneuve. God, I hate crazy names like that. But this guy also did the new Blade Runner, which I thought was pretty damn awesome also. Well, let's get into the first thing I kind of liked about it was the fact that there wasn't a lot of exposition. Now, that's really a crutch of many science fiction movies, the fact that to get audiences where they need to be to understand the movies, you have to open with a lot of exposition. Now, there was a voiceover narration by Zendaya's character. So they started that out and I was kind of, please don't let her narrate the whole movie. I hate narrations in science fiction movies. The best example of that is the original Blade Runner. I think the original movie didn't even have a voiceover, and then the studio decided to add one because they didn't think people would get it. I think if you're going to do a science fiction movie, do it like Star Wars did it. There was no narration in Star Wars except for the little crawl thing in the beginning, but that was kind of an ode to old serials. But overall, when you watch Star Wars, nothing is really explained if you think about it. You hear a little bit of exposition here and there, but it's not overwhelming. So this version of Dune did that right. I was just happy to see that it wasn't bogged down by that. And they were probably counting on people who've actually seen the other versions of Dune, knowing that they didn't want to explain anything. Because if you've seen the David Lynch movie, it follows the same beats. Now, like I said, I don't know how different any of these movies are from the book. I tried to read the book. I felt like the prose was a little stilted. I just have to admit that. It felt a little bit stilted. I'm used to, people like George R. R. Martin. I guess I've been spoiled by Game of Thrones, who I've read 3 times. I read all 5 books 3 times. So I've been a little bit spoiled by his prose. I just felt like it was a little stilted. And I remember Dune, the author of Dune, Frank Herbert, could not get this novel published. He actually had to go to a publisher of auto repair manuals to finally get his novel published. So apparently most of the publishing houses probably didn't like the writing either. I don't know. I haven't read a complete book, so maybe it gets better. But I really couldn't get into it, and I had to go back to work and do a bunch of other things, so I never got around to reading it. But based on this movie, I was really excited by what I saw. I was excited by the diversity. Because as I understand it, and I didn't get this when I watched the David Lynch version, because every character in the movie was white, of course. the way old Hollywood did everything. If you have a community in the desert, of course they're going to be white. Even if all evidence points to the fact that people in desert climates are usually brown. Now, I know there's white people in northern African countries, but they're colonizers. I'm talking about the natives. If you look at any kind of desert country, the people there are black or brown, usually brown. So they got that right in this movie. And because of that, I realized this time that this movie is really an allegory about Muslim societies and, of course, the spice, which is this very valuable commodity that everybody needs in the galaxy. It's just a stand-in for oil. So I didn't get that when I saw the David Lynch film. It was so clear to me this time because just for the fact that Denis Villeneuve actually populated the Freeman with either Hispanic actors or Arab actors or black actors. So I really appreciated that. It just gave it a little bit more flavor than the David Lynch version. The other thing I really, really liked about this version was Duncan Idaho, who has one of the dumbest names I've ever heard. But the fact they got Jason Momoa to play him just elevated their role to unseen heights. I just love that character. In fact, I liked him so much, I kind of wish he was the main character. Because one drawback to this movie, I will say, is Timothy Chalamet. I don't know how I feel about him yet. I didn't see a lot of personality from him. That's a problem with a lot of Hollywood movies now. They really don't know how to write a charismatic hero anymore, it seems to me. I mean, I think a lot of these studios, they just bank on the fact that let's get this good-looking white kid. The teenage girls will love him. All the young males that see this movie will want to be him, and that's all they bank on instead of actually fleshing out the character and making him somebody charismatic. So I had a problem with that, but we'll see. This is like I've already said. This is part 1 of Dune. The movie kind of ended abruptly, although it's very long. That's another thing I will. Let's go a little bit into what was bad about it. I would have to say the length. It's kind of a hard movie to watch in the theater. Now that's okay because a lot of people are going to be seeing this at home. And because of that, you can kind of pad out movies. You don't have to cut so many scenes. Because I think when it came down to it, that was the problem with the David Lynch version. The studio, wanted a lot of stuff cut from that version. So they made the story kind of incomprehensible. Well, you won't have this problem in this version. Okay? Because they split it up between 2 movies, which I really, really enjoyed. But you don't really see even a sandworm for about an hour. And it got kind of tedious. I was like, I want to see a sandworm. They kept talking about the sandworms. I want to actually see what this version was going to look like. And it was pretty much similar to the one in the David Lynch version. I kind of wish they had done a little bit something different with the worm. Made it a different color or something. So, yeah. The length is going to be kind of annoying to some people. I also have to say, the director decided for a real desaturated look in this movie, which made Rebecca Ferguson, who plays Lady Jessica Atreides, made her very, very drab. And I have never seen Rebecca Ferguson drab in any movie. She's a beautiful woman. I was really disappointed that how she looked. She was just so pale and washed out. But I got the feeling that the director, he was going for this epic journey of a movie, very serious movie. It's not fun like Star Wars. It's a very serious drama. There's not a lot of jokes. In fact, I think David Lynch's version, I liked one portrayal in particular. That was Patrick Stewart playing Gurney Halleck. I thought he did such a better job than Josh Brolin. And, remember that initial scene with Paul Atreides?
Mood's a thing for cattle and love play, not fighting.
I thought the dialogue in that scene was superior to this version, if you remember that scene. And Patrick Stewart, of course, was just a badass. It's the first time I think he had a major role, which later led to Star Trek: The Next Generation. So that's another criticism. I like Josh Brolin, but I don't know. He just didn't have the gravitas, even though he played Thanos of all people. My God, but he did not have the gravitas of a Patrick Stewart. So I almost wish they could have brought Patrick Stewart back. But if you've seen Patrick Stewart lately, he's gotten really old. I had a hard time watching that new Star Trek series, the Picard series, because of that. Also, I will say the music was not iconic at all. It was just kind of blah. They really needed John Williams for this movie. They should have gotten John Williams, because I can't even remember what the soundtrack even sounded like. It was just, I don't know. It was just bland. So, I don't know. Maybe it'll get better in the second movie, but I doubt it. But yeah, that's about it. I don't have too many criticisms. The technology in the movie was done a little bit better than the David Lynch version, especially the personal shields. I felt like that made more sense in this version for whatever reason, just because it looked a little better. I like the fact that everybody in this universe has to fight with swords, because everybody has a personal shield, so there wasn't a lot of gunplay. There was one scene where Paul Atreides actually pulls out a gun. I was like, wow, a gun. I was just shocked that he had a gun. But that choice gave the whole throwback to feudalism, which they do in this movie and in the book, more relevance, because, if you're talking about princesses and dukes and barons and all that stuff, it doesn't make a lot of sense if you have guys running around with guns. So that's it, guys. I like Dune Part 1. It was entertaining to me. It was a move up from the David Lynch version, and I'm really excited about Part 2. Please don't make us wait too long. Man, I want to see what happens. We got some glimpses of what's going to happen in the future, because Paul Atreides, of course, is having visions. And the visions in this movie kind of throw you for a loop a few times, because you think something's going to happen because Paul has had a vision, but then the plot kind of defies whatever vision he has. And sometimes it either confirms what he has already seen. So I like the way they kind of manipulated the audience. So, but overall, I like the movie. I think the director made the right choices. I like most of the casting, and I can't wait to see what we have in store for Part 2. But that's all I got for today. I'd like to thank my subscribers and encourage you. Hit that subscribe button. Let me know what you think down in the comments. Have you seen the movie? Do you feel excited as I feel? Let me know in the comments, and I will see you when I see you. Thanks for watching.